welcome everyone who's joined in the attendees and all those who are there on the Facebook Live are joining, calling up people. Thank you for making this wonderful effort today to come over a weekend and to join us for this webinar on fighting climate crisis with plant-based life. And we have a wonderful speaker here with us today because she's just sort of devoted her life to the mission of to protect animals and to also raise awareness about the climate crisis. And she's done a lot of wonderful job in India, talking about it through webinars, through her own page, her blog. I give you a little bit introduction to Pareen. Officially, Pareen is a PhD scholar in development studies at the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, TIS, in Mumbai, who lives with a passion to protect animals and the environment. She's India lead with the international non-profit Climate Healers, a global international non-profit. And she's also a climate reality leader trained by former USA Vice President Al Gore and his team. As a human and earth and animal liberation activist, she runs Pareen Sustainable Vegan blog, her own online knowledge sharing initiative. She guides and encourages a lot of young people, adults. I don't think there's an age bar to it. So please follow her and listen to. And there is this one new series also there that is called a meditation series, right? That comes with a sense of community building and helping you fight your daily challenges. It's called 10 on 10 on 10, and I'm a fan of it. I've just secretly joined some of the sessions and the old ones also. It's really nice. So please do check out Pareen's blog and please follow her as well. Pareen, over to you. Please tell us something about yourself and yes, take us through.
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction, Sarita. I want to start by saying that I'm really grateful to FIAPO for all the work that you do and all the awareness that you're raising, whether it is within the animal welfare community or outside. I want to thank everyone who is here, who has shown interest in this subject. I'll start by sharing a little bit about myself, about how I got into this, and then we'll dive right into the meat of the matter, which is how our food habits are impacting climate and how we can change them to effectively not just stop but reverse climate change. Throughout, so it'll be a short presentation. I will request you to share any questions that you may have in chat, and I will be more than happy to take them on. Don't hold back on the questions towards the end of the session. You can keep sharing your questions, and if they're relevant to where I'm at in the presentation, I'll take them up immediately. That said, I am Pareen Sachdeva. Like Sarita said, I am a PhD student, and I'm also India lead with Climate Healers. This did not happen overnight. I had no interest, no background in this at all. I've been trained in economics, but it just happened with a click of a switch a few years ago. I had joined my MPhil program at TIS in Mumbai, and a casual conversation in the canteen over lunch, and I started to research about how to get fit and healthy, and I came upon the whole food plant-based movement. I came upon a bunch of research by these amazing medical professionals who are not only stressing that medical professionals do not get enough education about nutrition, but also how medical professionals can effectively help each other and help us in taking charge of our health, in being on top of our health. A lot of doctors who I read the works of, Dr. Greger, Dr. Barnard, Kim Williams, to name a few. There are so many amazing doctors who are really working on this now. So I thought, all right, I'll try to make a shift. And until then, my idea of a beautiful, wholesome, delicious, and healthy plate of food was a plate filled with meat or eggs and vegetables. But I thought I'll try this out. And my parents thought that this was another one of my, trial things. So they did not stop me. They're like, okay, whatever. And I was living on my own anyway, so there was nobody to really, I don't know. There were not really a lot of challenges that I faced in my living setting. Uh, I'm really grateful for that, at least initially, which helped me take control of how and what I wanted to eat. Uh, but that was not enough. I did not stop researching. I got to know about how our food industry really works. I kept on researching. And then I educated myself about climate change. And since then, I have got the opportunity to train with uh, the US Vice former US VP Al Gore himself as a climate reality leader. And I have had the great uh, fortune of getting to work with the systems engineer, Dr. Sailesh Rao at Climate Healers. He is one of the original engineers of the internet who has devoted his life towards um, reversing climate change, so to speak. And I'm really grateful that I get to work with him and I get to educate uh, people on this very subject. So without much ado, let me share my screen now. And while we do that, I want you to think about what greenhouse gases are, what global warming is, and what climate change is. You may have heard these terms thrown around, whether it is in the news or in videos that you may be watching. What is it really? So a lot of our activities are human activities, also called anthropogenic activities, release a lot of gases into the atmosphere. Some of these, which trap the heat of the sun into the atmosphere, are called greenhouse gases, which cause the greenhouse effect, which is nothing but holding the sun's heat in the atmosphere. So carbon dioxide and methane are some of the best known greenhouse gases. There are also other particles like carbon particles and other aerosols that are also released into the atmosphere from a human activity. When our temperatures are rising, this process is called global warming. When this happens over extended periods of time and our climate patterns start to change, this is what is called climate change. No point for guessing. All right. So a little bit about the trends of global temperatures in the past decades. Within the past 10 years, we have witnessed 5 of the hottest years ever recorded in human history. That is something. We are having unprecedented hailstorms and all kinds of shifts in weather patterns. And this is all a part of climate change. All right. What's happening with water use? So I'm going to take you through some of the challenges that we're facing today with respect to um, everything that nature has to offer us, everything that we take from nature, and we use to produce and essentially run our economies and our civilization. So let's talk about water. How much water is needed to produce a kilogram of tomatoes? About 200 liters. What about milk? About 1,000 liters. To produce just a liter of milk, it takes about 1,000 liters. Really makes you wonder how we can get a liter of milk for less than 100 rupees uh, at a grocery store, right? And it keeps on increasing as we eat more and more animal products. For cheese, for a kilo of cheese, it takes about 3,000 liters of water to produce. Eggs, about 4,000. Chickens, about 4,300. Butter, about 5,500. Pork takes about 6,000, and beef takes about 15,000 liters of water to produce only 1 kg of the particular item. So animal-based diets are up to 18 times more resource intensive as plant-based diets. Let's talk about land use. Well, a part of all of the ice-free land, so all the land on the planet, there's all the land on the planet. Some of it is covered with ice and glaciers, which is uninhabitable by humans. So leaving that aside, about 37% of all of habitable land is under farm animal grazing. All right. This is huge considering only about 18% of all of our caloric needs are met by livestock based or animal based food. Okay. And only about 37% of our protein requirements are met by animal based foods. All right. 63%, about three quarters of all of our protein requirements are met by plants. So the next time you think about asking a vegan where they get their protein from, well, think about that. Coming to biodiversity, do not get bogged down by this flowchart, that this graph that you're seeing in front of your screen. This is nothing but the size of the biomass of, so biomass is nothing but the weight of living beings, whether those are plants or animals or humans on the planet. So about 10,000 years ago, humans constituted a very small proportion of the total biomass of the planet, and wild animals or wild vertebrates constituted a majority of it. Okay, but as close as 1970, so only about 50 years ago, what we have done is we have reduced the biomass of wild vertebrates by about 50% of what it was 10,000 years ago. This cannot be good for our biodiversity because, as you know, every species on the planet has a purpose. Whether it is an elephant stomping on the grass and creating a path in the forest, or a bee flying from flower to flower, in turn pollinating it, including us humans who have essentially postponed the ice age, another ice age, by effectively raising global temperatures. Every species has had a role on the planet. However, we humans, the wise ones, need to take stock of how we have been taking charge of our role on the planet. What we have essentially done is we have doubled the biomass of farmed animals. Okay, with the beginning of industrialization era and the beginning of monoculture, we have we have developed and evolved our agricultural practices as well as our industrial practices, and those have had an impact on raising the overall temperature of the planet. And what has that resulted in? That has resulted in overall reduction in the biomass of wild vertebrates and overall increase in the biomass of farmed animals. Okay, these farmed animals include cows, buffaloes, pigs, chickens in a majority, and then there are also foxes, alpacas, camels, etc., etc., that are limited to certain parts of the world. All right. Today, well, the biomass of humans has doubled. The biomass of wild vertebrates is negligible, and the biomass of farmed animals has become 4 times as much. And the biomass of food that we grow, of plants or grains that we grow to feed this livestock or farmed animals, has grown 5-fold. All right. According to the World Wildlife Fund numbers, if you do a simple calculation, if the rate of extinction of wild vertebrates and the rate of economic growth continue to grow as they are, we will be well on way to wipe all of the wild vertebrates off the face of the planet by as early as 2026. This is crucial because what kind of an earth would it be if not for the diverse species that inhabit it, especially at this moment. Keep in mind that we are already in the middle of the sixth mass extinction. All right. Now, we spoke about a couple, but there are all of these environmental challenges that are linked to one industry alone. Whether it is climate change, whether it is deforestation, water use that we've already spoken about, species extinction that we've already spoken about, land use, waste creation and management, and also fisheries and the possibility of seeing fishless oceans by 2048. These are all linked to animal agriculture. You may have seen a lot, you may have read a lot about this in the news, about the Amazon being on fire, about forests in Cuba being on fire, about the forest fires in Australia. Why do you think, and a lot of these fires were man-made? Why do you think these were? These are common practices of burning off forests to clear away land to graze animals, or to raise or to grow plants to feed these animals, or to set up facilities to process these animals. All right. So, what are these two important aspects? You hear a lot about fossil fuels and the need for a clean energy transition. It is being spoken about at a global scale, right? Nobody is unaware that we need to shift towards a clean energy economy, right? Also, nobody is raising a question about the jobs, or the jobs that will be lost, or the unemployment that it will lead to when we shift from a fossil fuel economy towards a clean fuel economy, right? When it comes to the burning machine, the path is clear. We need to stop our fossil fuel emissions, and we need to transition towards clean energy systems. But when it comes to the killing machine, that is animal agriculture, why are we riddled with all of these questions? Why do we question the appropriateness of a whole diet derived from plants? Why do we question the appropriateness of shifting towards an industry that will not only be beneficial towards the environment, but also towards our own health and our own and what did I say? Our own health and the health of the animals inhabiting the planet, right? So this new study talks about how 87% of all greenhouse emissions are coming from the animal agriculture sector. How this calculation is reached is this study done by Dr. Sailesh Rao takes into account the opportunity cost of the carbon that could have been sequestered, but is not being sequestered because we have been clearing away forests and grazing animals on that land instead. This comes out to be 34 gigatons of carbon. And a little bit about what sequestration is. Photosynthesis is the simplest way in which carbon sequestration happens. Plants absorb carbon and emit oxygen, right? That is all that sequestration is. Right. So animal agriculture is the leading cause of climate change. What we need to do, in addition to a sustained transition towards a clean energy economy, is also a quick and very, very systematic transformation towards a plant-based economy as well. Why, you may ask? The reason is animal agriculture is responsible for the emission of another greenhouse gas, which is methane, which in a shorter time frame, which is 20 years, which is still a lot more than what we really have. We have about 10 years to limit global temperatures to 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. So we have about 10 years for this. And methane, which is about 84%, 83 to 84% more potent than carbon dioxide at trapping the heat of the atmosphere, lasts in the atmosphere for this shorter duration. However, it is much more potent and much more active. So how do we stop that? By stopping the emissions from animal agriculture. So whether it is for food, for clothing, for entertainment, accessories, uh, whatever purpose that we're using and breeding and raising animals for, is contributing to climate change. And once we stop that, we will not only be able to stop climate change, but we can also effectively reverse climate change by initiating reforestation efforts and creating sanctuaries for the animals that have been bred and raised, and then they can live out the rest of their lives in these sanctuaries until the numbers of these domesticated or farmed animals start dwindling. All right. So what does Gus Pett have to say about this? He says, I used to think the top environmental problems were biodiversity loss, ecosystems collapse, and climate change, things that we've already discussed about. I thought that with 30 years of good science, we could address those problems, but we haven't. But I was wrong. The top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. And to deal with those, we need a spiritual and cultural transformation. And at the base of this transformation needs to lie compassion towards all of our fellow earthlings, including animals. And how do we do that? We do that by tackling our food systems. We need to cut out the middle animal if we want to continue to create an earth uh, that is a happy earth for our possible future generations. At this point, I also want to bring your attention to this number that a third of the world's cereal harvest is fed to animals. Imagine today, we are feeding enough of, we're producing enough food to feed 10 billion humans, and yet millions are dying of starvation every year. Why is that? It is because our food systems are in shambles. We are not focusing on what we really need to do. Instead, we're enmeshed in lobbies and culture and traditions that themselves have histories of oppression, whether it is oppression of animals or of our fellow humans. Since that is not in the purview of the discussion today, I'm not going to be including that in the presentation, but feel free to ask a question about it later on. Briefly, very briefly, how do civilizational transformations happen? There are three main things that need to evolve or transform for civilizational transformation to take shape. These three are communications, energy, and food. Okay, about 500,000 years ago, we discovered fire and we started cooking food, right? And then about 12,000 years ago, the agricultural revolution happened. We started communicating through writing and drawing. We started monocultures. And then a couple thousand years later, the industrial revolution of the 1800s took place. We had machines. We also started industrializing our agriculture, whether it was plant farming or animal farming. We have industrialized our agricultural systems as well. But now we're at the brink of another civilizational transformation. And this is a transformation towards a vegan world, a world which is kind and compassionate to all, with veganism at the very basis of it, but with systems, with economic systems that are not based, that are ideally not based on making profit off of exploitation. Okay. The pandemic, the ongoing pandemic, is another reason that has brought this to light. How? Stressed animals have spawned pandemics. The present pandemic of COVID-19 is thought to have originated in wet markets and and the virus is thought to have jumped from live animals into human beings, right? About 75% of all infectious diseases have been zoonotic diseases. That is, diseases that have jumped on from animals into humans. Some of the examples of these diseases are Ebola, bird flu, SARS, swine flu, mad cow disease, and the latest being COVID-19. I'm sure if you're keeping up with the news, you may have heard of a new um, a new strain of avian flu that is also being seen. You may also have seen the face of this very famous doctor, Dr. Anthony Fauci. I think he's probably the most famous doctor in the world right now. What does he have to say about this? It boggles my mind how, when we have so many diseases that emanate out of that unusual human animal interface, that we don't just shut it down. Why not? Right? In addition to these infectious diseases, there are also non-communicable diseases or lifestyle diseases. The very well known amongst these are heart disease, lung disease, diabetes, hypertension, all of which have been linked to the consumption of animal products. And some studies have even shown that well-planned whole food plant-based diets can effectively reverse some of these, right? So, like we said, this civilizational shift will mean that the very foundations of our civilization are going to be shifting. We're moving from an exploitative economy to a cooperative game, from competition to cooperation, from seeking happiness from material desires to seeking it within by exercising compassion, right? But what stops us from making these shifts? There are a lot of myths that are surrounding these revelations. So, the very well known is the protein myth, right? We need protein to get strong or to grow, right? No meat at all? Are you sure you're getting enough protein? Look at that gorilla. What does that gorilla eat to be that big and strong and mighty? Plants. Think about the strongest and largest animals on the planet. Elephants, giraffes, they're really sturdy. Oxes, bulls, they're all so strong, but what do they all eat? Plants. Plants have all the protein you need, because think about it. Where are the animals that we eat for protein getting their protein from? Animals. What? What did I? Where? I'm sorry about that. Where are the animals that we eat to get our protein? Getting their protein from? Plants. Some well-known plant sources of protein are soy, of course, all kinds of beans, chickpeas, lentils, dal, nuts like peanuts, almonds, seeds like quinoa and chia, and of course, all kinds of things that we get from this amazing bean called soy. We can milk it, we can ferment it to make tempeh, we can make tofu out of it, we can even make things like seitan, which is so close in texture to meat and is such a big, I would say it really had me too in transitioning from a non-vegetarian to a vegan diet, right? What's the next one? Calcium myth, right? Ever since we were kids, moms and dads and everybody in the family would tell us that you need to drink milk to keep your bones strong and healthy. Well, look at that. Chia seeds have more calcium than milk. Even sesame seeds that are so common, and every season, every winter, we do eat sesame laddu. Ever wondered why? All of this knowledge is embedded in our culture. It is just unfortunate that because of the agenda of some industries, we've been taught to think that there are certain things that we specifically need, and things like milk and eggs end up being glorified because of that, when in fact we can get everything that we need from plants. Okay, so some plant sources of calcium: collard greens, turnip greens, figs, bok choy, fortified, anything that is fortified with calcium or supplements, uh, kale, oranges, sesame seeds, fox nuts, they're all rich in calcium. Another thing about milk, you see this graph in front of you? Majority of, not even countries, but continents in the world, more than 60% of the majority of continents in the world's populations are lactose intolerant. Why, you may wonder? Lactose is a sugar that is found in milk, okay? And milk is nothing but baby growth fluid that all mammals produce when they have children. Whether it is humans or cows or elephants or buffaloes or any kinds of mammals, their bodies produce milk to nurture their infant for a certain amount of time until they're weaned off that milk. However, humans are the only species who are still drinking milk way into adulthood. Not just that, we're drinking the milk of another species. How wise is that for the wise hominins, the Homo sapiens? Think about it. Okay. So there are a lot of myths, like I touched upon, that are surrounding milk. Okay. Uh, Ayurvedic tradition talks about the medicinal properties of products like ghee that are derived out of milk. However, Ayurveda has never purported consuming these things on a daily basis. Ayurveda has spoken about, sattvic ghee taken as a medicine, not as something that is produced on a massive scale in factory farms and leading to so much exploitation of non-consenting sentient beings, right? Another really important thing, whether you're vegan or not, is vitamin B12. Uh, there's this little anecdote about Gandhi, who tried to be vegan for most of his life, but unfortunately, in the later stages of his life, when he got really sick, he was advised by his doctor to consume uh, goat's milk. If only B12 had been discovered by then. B12 was actually discovered in 1964, and it originates in microorganisms in the soil. And now we don't get enough of it because our food is so well sanitized and cleaned. Even the animals that we get B12 from are given B12 injections, all right? And it is through this process of biomagnification that we end up receiving B12 from them. So why not just take a supplement ourselves in case we're found lacking? So definitely get in touch with your physician or your nutritionist about this. Stay on top of your micronutrient levels, whether it is B12, iron, zinc, all of these important micronutrients. It's not just the three major macronutrients, the carbohydrates, fats, and proteins that you need to be thinking about. You need to be concerned about your micronutrient levels as well. And as you can see from this colorful page, a well-planned, colorful, whole foods diet comprising of beans, grains, whole grains, seeds, nuts, fruits, vegetables is adequate for any stage of life, as the American Dietetics Association has shown us. And for B12, you can take supplements or multivitamins or fortified foods. Definitely consult your nutritionist. Okay. So I hope that from this presentation, what you can understand is that we need to let go of our ego and put eco at the top. Okay. We humans, unfortunately, even though we're made to think, we're not at the top of the food chain. We are not carnivores. Look at obligate carnivores and the way they eat. We do not eat anything like them. We are not at the top of the food chain. We are a part of our ecology. And as thinking, intelligent species who are able to take action and impact all of the planet's species, it is our responsibility to act as trustees of the environment and not as bosses. Okay. So if you ever think that someone should be doing something to bring change, then that someone is you. And you can make the change today by going vegan. All right. If you'd like, you can take a screenshot of this slide. This is a short list, a short indicative list of documentaries that are available on YouTube and other platforms that you can watch. They talk about diverse things ranging from our health, environment, animal welfare, animal rights. So feel free to refer to these, and you can visit climatehealers.org. That is the Climate Healers website to read more about this. You can read Dr. Rao's books. You can read our blogs over there and learn more, join the community. And with that, I will stop sharing my screen and open it up to questions. Savita, can you share?
Thank you so much, Pareen. It was so interesting and brought in a lot of perspective. Yes, we have started having questions. I think people are waiting. Okay, so a question that came in between the presentation was, wouldn't forests still be cleared if we shift to plant-based diet to grow crops for consumption?
That's a very important question. See, like I showed in the land use diagram, only 3% of the land is growing food for human consumption. Okay. So only 3% of land is growing, fruits, grains, seeds, nuts, all of those things for human consumption. We do not require nearly as much land as we are using today to raise livestock, to raise food when it's only for human consumption. So it will not. The land that we're already using is sufficient to feed all of us.
Thank you. Thank you. Also, there's a question that says, is going vegan expensive?
A very important question. See, the thing is, when we're talking about veganism, inadvertently, there is a certain level of privilege that comes into these discussions. Majorly because people who are in the position to discuss this are inadvertently oppressing those for whom veganism may not be accessible. Okay. But for a majority of the audience, I would say, who are here sitting in front of a screen and participating in this conversation, especially with all of the vegan options that are available today, it is very accessible to go vegan. And if you think that, off the rack vegan alternatives to a lot of the dairy and meat that we get normally are expensive, there are two reasons for that. Firstly, the dairy and meat industry are highly subsidized all over the world, whether it is India or across the world. It's true for every country. And that is why they're able to offer the prices that they do. Unfortunately, the plant-based industry, especially the part of plant-based industry which is providing specific alternatives, very niche alternatives to these dairy and meat products, they're still quite small but growing. And as they keep growing, the prices will keep falling down. So keep demanding it. But if you find that it's not sustainable at the moment to keep, to have these off the rack, then it's very easy to make these things at home. You just need to get a hang of it. It's very easy to make milk out of nuts and seeds and grains. You just have to soak them overnight, and in the morning, just wash and blend them, strain them, and that's it. It's as easy as that. And you can get a dairy alternative, and you can do pretty much all the things you can with dairy milk with these. Okay, you can make tofu, you can make curd, you can make buttermilk using this very non-dairy plant milk. So I would say that consider home cooked meals if those are accessible to you. So our simple dal, roti, sabzi, chawal, sambar, dosa, they're all part of our staple diets, and they're quite affordable in general. So I would say stick to those.
Thank you, Pareen. Thank you so much. If I can add to that question, we also have a 21-day with 63 recipes. We have a plant-based challenge, so you can take that up. You can get all the recipes, cook at home. It's very easy. The shikanjis, the dishes that we have, plus the juices that we say, you just make them at home in 5 minutes. Basically, it's cooking time is less. It can be cooked at home. You can fetch your other family members. It's easy, it's good, and you can start trying, I mean, from there. And just to say, if somebody says that food is about taste, then taste is also acquired over time, right? So we grow on the taste. You wouldn't like some things after leaving them for a while and developing a new taste on something else. So healthy is tasty. Okay, and
That's so true. I really wanna say this. The 21-day challenge. It is so simple, guys. You get everything in one place. Just go, and it's all available for free. You do not have to spend a penny to take charge of your own health and the health of the planet effectively.
yes. Okay, so there's another question that says, which is better milk option in plant-based milk?
Okay, so it depends on your taste and what you like. Soy milk is most easily available, and so is coconut milk. You get those coconut cream, and you can dilute it with water, and that's it, whatever consistency you like. So soy and coconut are the two most easily available off the rack in most tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities at least. Um, Making at home, again, it's really easy to make coconut milk at home, and so is with any kinds of nuts. And if you were to make almond and even cashew milk at home, your price per liter would still be much less than dairy milk. It would cost you about 40 rupees a liter to make almond milk at home. You just need a cup of almonds and a liter of water. That's all you need. And if you make it at home, it's still cheaper than dairy milk.
Great. Sounds like we can make all of them at home in samples and try out for ourselves. Great. Okay, another question is, in India, as we know, our communities are living for a while on animal farming and outcome products. And for most of them, it is really tough to switch. In fact, they are not aware of veganism. So, what is the major cause that is actually stopping them? Pareen, I'd also request अगर ये वाला आंसर थोड़ा हिंदी इंग्लिश में हम दे सके, because a lot of people, बहुत सारे लोगों को इंग्लिश की जगह हिंदी आसानी से समझ में आ सकती है.
बिल्कुल. तो जैसे कि मैंने पहले भी कहा, वीगनिज्म का ये जो कॉन्सेप्ट है, हम सीधा गांव में जाके फार्मर को नहीं बोल रहे हैं कि आप वीगन बनो. हम ट्राइबल एरियाज में जाके जो ट्राइब्स नेचर के साथ इतने अच्छे से हाथ जोड़कर रह रहे हैं, उन्हें नहीं कह रहे हैं हम कि आप वीगन जाएं, वीगन बने. वीगन बनने की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी आप और हमारे जैसे लोगों की है, जो आराम से फॉर द मोस्ट पार्ट अपने घर में बैठकर डिपार्टमेंट स्टोर से जाकर पैकेज्ड खाना लेकर आते हैं, चाहे वो दूध हो, चाहे वो मीट हो, अंडे हो, जो मर्जी हम लेकर आते हैं. क्यों? क्योंकि हम ये सोचते नहीं है कि क्योंकि हम वो चीजें डिमांड कर रहे हैं, तो जो फार्मर जो रूरल एरिया में है, उसको वही बनाना पड़ रहा है. ठीक है. और वही साइकिल, उसी साइकिल को हम उसी में घूमे जा रहे हैं, उसी को परपेचुएट किए जा रहे हैं। और जो अभी अमूल और पीटा, क्या मैं इसके बारे में बात कर सकती हूँ? अमूल और पीटा के बीच में जो कंट्रोवर्सी चल रही है, सबसे पहली बात तो जो ये कहा जा रहा है कि अनसोलिसिटेड एडवाइस दी है पीटा ने। लेटर अगर आप पढ़ेंगे जो पीटा ने लिखा है, उसमें उन्होंने बोला है एनकरेज, हम आपको एनकरेज करना चाहते हैं कि आप प्लांट बेस्ड मिल्क बनाएं। ये पहली बात तो एडवाइस नहीं होती। और दूसरी बात, अगर आप इतने बड़े लेवल की कंपनी है, यू आर ओपन टू क्रिटिसिज्म, चाहे वो सिटीजन से हो, चाहे वो सिविल सोसाइटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से हो। अगर कोई एनजीओ या कोई कस्टमर भी अगर आपको कुछ फीडबैक दे रहा है, तो सबसे पहले तो ये कोई तरीका नहीं होता फीडबैक लेने का, जिस तरीके से आप ट्विटर पे लड़ाई स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं। दूसरी बात, अमूल का जो इतना बड़ा एक्सटेंसिव नेटवर्क है पूरे देश में, अमूल चाहे तो वो ऐसे इस ट्रांजिशन को इफेक्ट कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि उनके पास इतना बड़ा ये नेटवर्क है। और जो ये कह रहे हैं कि करोड़ों गरीब फार्मर्स की लाइवलीहुड जाएंगी, आप ये सोच कर देखिए कि फार्मर्स अभी तक गरीब क्यों हैं? इतने सालों से हमारा जो वाइट रेवोल्यूशन चल रहा है और अमूल चल रहा है, आपने, क्या होता है ना, हमने इतना दिया उनको कि वो बस थोड़ा सा ऊपर उठ सके, कि उन्हें लगे हाँ जी हम गरीब, कि हम, कैसे मैं कहूँ, कि सस्टेनेंस लेवल तक उनको दे दिया, ठीक है। पर आगे कहाँ बढ़ रहे हैं वो? अभी भी तो गरीब फार्मर ही हैं, राइट? तो अगर आप वो ट्रांजिशन को इफेक्ट करेंगे तभी तो कुछ बदलेगा। आपकी अगर नौकरी चली जाती है तो क्या आप दूसरी नौकरी नहीं ढूंढते? और जैसे कि अभी प्रेजेंटेशन में भी मैंने कहा, हम बोलते हैं कि हमें फॉसिल फ्यूल से स्विच करके क्लीन एनर्जी की तरफ शिफ्ट होना है ना? क्या कोई बोलता है कि फॉसिल फ्यूल में बेरोजगारी हो जाएगी? कोई नहीं बोलता। सब लोग तो ये बोलते हैं कि हाँ जी क्लीन एनर्जी में एम्प्लॉयमेंट बढ़ेगी, इंडिया इज लीडिंग क्लीन एनर्जी, सोलर में हम लोग कितने आगे हैं, हम लोग अपना आईपीसीसी के, हम अपना पेरिस एग्रीमेंट के टारगेट्स मीट करने में हम बिल्कुल, इंडिया इज वन ऑफ द कंट्रीज जो विच इज वेल ऑन इट्स वे टू अचीव दोस टारगेट्स, क्योंकि हम सोलर में परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं। तो ये दोनों बातें हो जाती हैं कि हमारे मेजरमेंट के सिस्टम भी ऐसे है ना, कि जिसकी वजह से हाँ जी हमने सोलर में कर लिया, हमारा काम हो गया। और जो किलिंग मशीन है उसको हम एडजस्ट करना भूल जाते हैं।
आई थिंक एक रीजन ये भी है कि एज कंज्यूमर्स हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, मतलब जो लोग समझते हैं इस बात को वो भी एक डिफरेंस ला सकते हैं। सो एट दिस पॉइंट आप इस वेबिनार में आए हैं, वी आर हियर। हम इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे भी, हमें कोई जरूरी नहीं है कि हमें बहुत ही बड़ी बड़ी चीजें आज ही कर लेनी है, बट मे बी अपने इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे भी हमें एक स्टैंड हम ले सकते हैं, अपनी लाइफ में क्या डिफरेंस ला सकते हैं। सो to this person who had asked this question, I think, if you understood what Pareen has shared here, it's very relevant. While you can make a difference in your life, we're not asking farmers and rural people to make a difference to go to veganism.
Yeah. That change will come at, that change has to come at a bigger level. सबसे पहले तो हमको एक रिसर्च दिखानी है कि किस तरीके से इस ट्रांजिशन को हम इफेक्ट कर सकते हैं। और कुछ कंट्रीज में ऐसा हो रहा है, जैसे यूएसए में है एक राउडी गर्ल, क्या आप मुझे सुन पा रहे हैं? यूएसए में एक है राउडी गर्ल एनिमल सैंक्चुरी करके हैं, ये कैटल रैंच थी, और उनकी जो हस्बैंड वाइफ चलाते थे, और जो वाइफ है वो वीगन बनी, तो फिर उन्होंने कहा कि मैं ये नहीं सह सकती कि ये जो सब गायें हैं इनको हम कत्ल खाने में भेज देते हैं। उन्होंने अपना सिस्टम कंप्लीटली वीगन कर दिया और अब वो सैंक्चुरी चलाते हैं इन जानवरों के लिए। तो एक मॉडल यूएसए में ऑलरेडी ऐसा आ चुका है। मैं इस फेवर में तो बिल्कुल नहीं हूँ कि हम सीधा वो कॉपी पेस्ट करें मॉडल्स को, हम उनसे सीखें और अपने खुद के मॉडल्स बनाएं। मैं हमेशा इस चीज को फोकस देती हूँ।
Okay, thank you, Pareen. Moving on to another question: is veganism a threat to 100, I'm guessing, million people who are involved with? I think we've done this question. I'd like to take another question here. It says, we've already answered your question. I'm sorry. So, what is the percentage of vegans versus vegetarians versus non-vegetarians in India? That's yes.
So about 38% of India's population is vegetarian. Vegan population is minuscule, very very tiny. The numbers are so low that we don't really know. But the growing popularity of vegan businesses that are coming up, and sessions like these indicate that the numbers are definitely growing, and there are some ongoing small scale studies to measure the number and impact of vegans in India. Once they come up with their results, I think we'll be able to talk better about that.
Yes. Okay. Another question is, could you please, yes, we have shared in the chat box the link to 21-day challenge. You can sign up and you'll get all your 63 recipes on your emails every day. So you won't have to miss any of your meals. Then the next question is, since Pareen has a training in economics, just wanted to ask, hypothetically, in a capitalistic economic structure, would things change for the marginalized animal-based population if all animal products and productions were to be replaced by plant-based alternatives? Meaning to ask how much an economic sector mode of resource ownership plays a part in climate crisis, and how sustainable would this change be for the planet?
Right. So to understand what a capitalist structure really is, it is based on so there are certain pillars of capitalism. Okay, it is based on ownership of private property. And as an owner of private property, what you do is you hire people who sell their labor, you exploit their labor to get a surplus from by virtue of your ownership of your property. Okay, and which are the people who are offering their labor services? People who do not own private property. Okay, we have not delved into this in this webinar, but we are working on an alternate economic system that is not based on this kind of exploitation. Okay, but considering your question, you are asking how much of an economic sector or mode of resource ownership play a part in the climate crisis. I just read this somewhere that in the past year, the top billionaires of the world have increased their wealth by upwards of $3 trillion, and the bottom half of the world have lost an equivalent amount of income or wealth. I think that should be enough to show how our economy is structured today. It is all about the ownership of resources. The people in power are unwilling to give it up. The people who are not in power, some are raising their voices, others have accepted that this is the way it is. So I think it's about raising our collective consciousness to really change the system over its head.
Thank you. Thank you, Pareen. So, okay, we have another question. So will veganism at a large scale reverse climate change? And if I can add my own question to this, Pareen, I mean, veganism is not just about food, सिर्फ खाने के बारे में नहीं है. तो please आप थोड़ा हमें वो different lifestyle attitude practices भी बताएं जो हम सब अपनी life में अपना सकते हैं.
हाँ जी. तो veganism का सिंपल मैं आपको कॉन्सेप्ट एक बार बताती हूँ. वीगन के कॉन्सेप्ट में ये होता है कि आप जानवरों से आए किसी भी पदार्थ का इस्तेमाल नहीं करते, भले ही वो खाने के लिए हो, जैसे कि डेयरी पदार्थ, मीट, अंडे, मछली, ये सब. ठीक है. फिर पहनावा, जैसे कि वूल, लेदर, सिल्क. ठीक है, क्योंकि ये भी सब फैक्ट्रीज में ही बनते हैं. फिर हो गए सर्कस, एक्वेरियम, एनिमल्स पे जो टेस्टिंग होती है हमारी बड़ी बड़ी लेबोरेटरीज में, ये सब चीजें वीगनिज्म के अंदर आती हैं. और जानवरों का किसी भी तरीके से शोषण हो रहा है, आप उसके खिलाफ हैं, तो वो वीगनिज्म के अंदर आता है, जितना कि प्रैक्टिकल हो. जैसे कि एग्जाम्पल मैं देती हूँ आपको कि कोई दवाई है, आपकी तबीयत बहुत खराब है, डॉक्टर ने आपको एक दवाई दी है, उसका कोई ऑल्टरनेटिव नहीं है, पर आपको पता है कि वो जो दवाई है या तो वो किसी अभी भी वो एनिमल पे टेस्ट कर रहे हैं या फिर वो कोई एनिमल का प्रोडक्ट यूज कर रहे हैं, आपके पास कोई ऑल्टरनेटिव नहीं है, तो आप क्या करेंगे? आप अपना ख्याल रखेंगे, ठीक है, क्योंकि आपको प्रैक्टिकेबिलिटी का ख्याल रखना है। ये नहीं देखना कि इतना एक्सट्रीम नहीं चले जाना है, जितना प्रैक्टिकल हो। क्यों? क्योंकि आज भी हम ऐसे सिस्टम में हैं जो एनिमल्स की एक्सप्लॉयटेशन पर रेस्ट करता है। जब हम ऐसे सिस्टम में होंगे जो एनिमल्स की एक्सप्लॉयटेशन पर नहीं रेस्ट करेगा, तब हमें ऐसी मुश्किल चॉइस लेने की नौबत नहीं आएगी। पर आज की डेट में जितना हमारे लिए प्रैक्टिकल है, हमें उतना वहां तक अपना चॉइस का लाइन ड्रॉ करना है, ठीक है। तो ये हो गया वीगनिज्म का कॉन्सेप्ट। अब ये लार्ज स्केल पे जब वीगनिज्म कह रहे हो, इसमें ना हमें एक ये बात बहुत ख्याल रखनी है, क्योंकि वीगनिज्म का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है ना, बहुत कॉप्ट, उसको ना कई कई जगह में लोग उसको लेकर मोल्ड करके अलग अलग तरीकों से इस्तेमाल करते हैं। उससे हमें बचना है। जैसे कि वीगन के नाम पर एग्जांपल दूंगी मैं आपको कि कई एक्सट्रीम डाइट्स भी लोग फॉलो करते हैं। जैसे कुछ लोग, मतलब एक्सट्रीम नहीं बोलूंगी, मैं बोलूंगी रिस्ट्रिक्टिव। जैसे कि कई लोग बोलेंगे हमें ग्लूटेन नहीं खाना, कई लोग बोलेंगे हमें तेल नहीं खाना, कई बोलेंगे हमें सिर्फ कच्चा केवल रॉ खाना है, कई बोलेंगे हमें केवल फ्रूट खाने, हम कुछ नहीं खाएंगे। तो सबसे पहले तो इनका वीगनिज्म से कोई नहीं लेना देना, ये आपकी पर्सनल चॉइस है कि आपने क्या चुना है खाने के लिए, ठीक है। इसको आप वीगन मत समझे, क्योंकि कई लोग क्या करते हैं, जैसे इंडिया में तो चलिए फ्रूट्स बहुत इजीली अवेलेबल है, वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज में इतना बुरा इमेज बन गया है इसको लेकर, क्योंकि ये सारी चीजें वीगनिज्म के साथ अटैच कर दी जाती है ना। तो क्या माना जाता है कि आपका एनवायरमेंटल फुटप्रिंट ज्यादा है क्योंकि आप एक्सोटिक इंपोर्टेड फ्रूट्स खा रहे हैं, ठीक है। तो सबसे पहले हमें इन सारे पैराफर्नेलिया से बचना है। हमें वीगन के साथ ये भी देखना है कि हम लोकल खाएं, जितना हो सके क्लीन, मतलब अच्छे तरीके से जो ग्रो किया हो, पेस्टिसाइड फर्टिलाइजर की का कम से कम इस्तेमाल हो, उस तरीके से, और लोकली प्रोड्यूस भी खाएं। तो हम वाकई में क्लाइमेट चेंज को रिवर्स कर सकते हैं। हम दोनों जो मशीन्स है, किलिंग मशीन और बर्निंग मशीन, दोनों का ख्याल रखते हुए हम इसका समाधान निकाल सकते हैं।
थैंक यू परीन। हमारा अगला क्वेश्चन है, there are many factors that are responsible for consumer decisions and selection of particular product like availability, affordability and accessibility. How vegan food will resolve these issues for mass behavior change? So ये सवाल है कि हम एज अ कंज्यूमर हमें बहुत सारी चीज़ों को ध्यान में रखते हुए हम एक किसी भी प्रोडक्ट को खरीदते हैं, जिसमें उसकी अवेलेबिलिटी, हमारे शहर में उसका मिलना, हमारे आसपास अवेलेबल होना, और उसकी कीमत कितनी है, कितना एक्सेसिबल है हमारे लिए, वो सब मैटर करता है। तो वीगनिज्म इस तरीके से कैसे इन इश्यूज को रिजॉल्व करके मास बिहेवियर चेंज ला सकता है, कैसे लोगों की डाइट हैबिट्स में बदलाव ला सकता है?
बहुत बहुत जरूरी सवाल है ये। सबसे पहले तो मैं दाद देना चाहूंगी कि ये कि आप एक अवेयर कंज्यूमर हैं और आप सोच समझ के जो भी आप खरीदते हैं वो आप इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं। दूसरी बात, वीगन, जैसे कि मैंने कहा, वीगन का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है, इसका हमारी हेल्थ और एनवायरनमेंट दोनों की तरफ काफी योगदान है। पर वीगनिज्म का जो बेसिस है ना, जो इसकी नींव है, वो एथिक्स और मॉरल्स के ऊपर है। वो हमारे एथिक्स क्या है कि जो हमारे हमारे जानवर जो हमारे इस धरती पर है हमारे साथ, वो ये डिजर्व नहीं करते जो हम उनके साथ कर रहे हैं। इतने बड़े नंबर्स में हम जो उनको चाहे वो फैक्ट्रीज में हो, चाहे वो इनक्लोज्ड बंद जगहों में हो, उनको हम रेज करते हैं। आपने देखे होंगे सड़क पे जाते हुए किस तरीके से मुर्गियां केज में रखी जाती हैं, या कभी आपने देखे होंगे ट्रक जाते हुए, या कैसे कई लोग बाइक्स पर भी एक एक तरफ 50-50 मुर्गियों को बांध कर, उनकी टांगों से बांध कर किस तरीके से उनको ले जाया जाता है। तो वीगनिज्म का जो सेंट्रल मैसेज है ना, वो है करुणा, कि हम अपने सारे जो प्राणी हैं उनकी तरफ हम करुणा रखें। तो सबसे पहला चेंज तो हमारे अंदर ये आएगा कि हम करुणा के साथ एक दूसरे को अप्रोच करेंगे, सारे प्राणियों को अप्रोच करेंगे और अपने आप को भी अप्रोच करेंगे। ठीक है। रही बात प्रोडक्ट्स की और इन चीजों की, बिल्कुल जैसे वीगन मूवमेंट ग्रो हो रहा है, देखिए जितने जितने प्रोडक्ट्स और जितने वीगन बिजनेसेस के बारे में मैं आज सुन रही हूँ, 2 साल पहले मैंने नहीं सुना था, और उनसे 2 साल पहले और भी नहीं सुना था, बल्कि जब मैं वीगन बनी थी तो उस समय के हर वीगन की तरह मैं भी यही समझती थी कि मैं एक अकेली वीगन हूँ इधर। जबकि ऐसा नहीं है। तो जैसे जैसे लोग और वीगन होते जा रहे हैं, जैसे जैसे लोगों में अवेयरनेस बढ़ता जा रहा है, हमारा सिस्टम भी बदलता जा रहा है, और इन प्रोडक्ट्स की जो अवेलेबिलिटी, अफोर्डेबिलिटी, एक्सेसिबिलिटी है, वो भी बढ़ती जा रही है। दैट सेड, अगर आप शेयर करना चाहते हैं कि आपको किस पर्टिकुलर लोकेशन में ऐसी रिसोर्सेज की जरूरत है, तो अगर जितनी मुझसे हेल्प हो पाएगी मैं करूंगी। क्योंकि अगर आप देखिए, मैंने एक इंस्टाग्राम में गाइड फीचर होता है जिसमें आप पोस्ट कलेक्ट कर सकते हैं कि, तो उस तरीके से मैंने क्या किया हुआ है कि इंडिया में कौन कौन से टोफू ब्रांड्स हैं, इंडिया में कौन कौन सी चीज की कंपनी है, मुंबई में कौन से रेस्टोरेंट हैं, दिल्ली में कौन से रेस्टोरेंट हैं, इस तरीके से मैंने कोशिश करी है गाइड बनाने की, लिस्ट बनाने की, एक तरीके से कि आप उसको खोलेंगे और आपको वो सारे ऑप्शंस मिल जाएंगे। तो अगर कोई ऐसा शहर है जो मैंने कवर नहीं किया है और आप चाहते हैं कि मैं कवर करूं, तो प्लीज आप शेयर करिए, और मैं पूरी कोशिश करूंगी कि वहां पे मैं जो भी इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट कर सकूं और फिर आपके साथ शेयर कर सकूं।
थैंक यू परीन, दैट इज वंडरफुल। हमारा अगला क्वेश्चन है प्लांट बेस्ड कॉस्मेटिक्स के ऊपर। सो आर दे इजीली एक्सेसिबल, और क्या आप कुछ प्रोडक्ट्स के बारे में बता सकते हैं? ओके, सो मे बी एक्सेसिबिलिटी इज समथिंग वी कैन टॉक अबाउट।
बिल्कुल। तो जैसे अगर आप देखिए, शॉप्स शॉप्स में क्या है ना, शॉप्स में कई लोकल शॉप्स में कई बार क्या होता है, या तो बहुत ही जाने माने मिलते हैं प्रोडक्ट्स, या फिर बिल्कुल ही लोकल प्रोडक्ट्स मिलते हैं। जो कुछ नए वीगन आ रहे हैं वो शायद अभी लोकल शॉप्स को नहीं पेनिट्रेट कर पाए हैं, पर आप ऑनलाइन उनको खरीद सकते हैं, चाहे उनकी वेबसाइट पे जाकर या फिर जो मेकअप की नॉर्मली जो आप वेबसाइट यूज करते होंगे वहां पे जाकर। बहुत सारे ब्रांड्स हैं, और बल्कि एक्चुअली ये वीगन वर्ड जो इतना पॉपुलर हो गया है, उसका एक फायदा भी हुआ है कि ब्रांड इसको यूज कर रहे हैं। कई ब्रांड्स कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि वो वीगन ही बनाए, तो वीगन क्रूल्टी फ्री ब्रांड के सामने आपको लिखा हुआ नजर आएगा। इंडिया में बहुत ब्रांड्स हैं जो वीगन क्रूल्टी फ्री बना रहे हैं, जैसे कि डिस्गाइज्ड है, रूबी है, ब्लर है, एक ईबा करके है जो पर्सनली मैं यूज करना मुझे अच्छा लगता है। एक तो वो उनका प्राइसिंग बहुत ही अच्छा अफोर्डेबल है, और अभी मैंने लिपस्टिक भी उन्हीं का लगाया हुआ है। और हर हाँ, ये एक चीज है जिसका अभी मैंने गाइड नहीं बनाया है, पर वो गाइड भी जल्दी आने वाला है।
थैंक यू। इनफैक्ट हमारे 21 डे चैलेंज में आपको सिर्फ रेसिपीज नहीं मिलती, यू ऑल्सो गेट द इन्फॉर्मेशन अबाउट लाइफस्टाइल प्रोडक्ट्स की, और कॉस्मेटिक्स की कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन भी उसमें अवेलेबल है, तो आपको कहाँ आप खरीद सकते हैं वो भी मिल सकता है। And Nykaa, that is a favorite place to go to. It has an option of a filter, vegan and cruelty-free products का. तो if you want, you can check some at least information के लिए, वो भी एक अच्छा तरीका है. This is the last question we'll take because we are at 6:07 and we'll go on and on. सवाल भी खत्म नहीं होते और जवाब भी पूरे कभी नहीं लगते हैं. So somebody is asking, if we stop using animals in medical experiments and testing, what is the alternative?
Okay. So I will tell you that I am not a scientist. I don't have an exact answer to this, but I do have research studies on this, which I can send you. So if you email me or DM me on Instagram, I will send them to you. There is definitely research going on alternatives to animal testing. That is something that is being done. So there is a way forward in this direction. How they're doing it, I think so. I'll touch upon a little bit. So there are live cultures, right? So instead of using a live animal, what they're using So they do initially extract some cells from animals, but then they develop cultures from those, and then they see the reactions of the drugs or pharmaceuticals that they're testing on those specific cultures instead of the animals. That is one way that I have come across. I'm sure there are many, and I can share the resources with you if you would like.
Thank you, Pareen. If I can also add to that, so there are, I was also checking up that, what are these options? And this, the first thing that you check on internet, it says that there are human cells and tissue in vitro methods of testing, which Pareen is talking about. तो आप भी वो ढूंढ सकते हैं इंटरनेट पे. ऐसे बहुत सारी टेक्निक्स हैं. हर मेडिसिन का टेस्ट एनिमल्स पे नहीं होता. हर कॉस्मेटिक, तो जो कॉस्मेटिक्स दैट आर नॉट टेस्टेड ऑन एनिमल्स डजंट मीन दैट दे आर नॉट वेरीफाइड कि वो आपकी स्किन को हार्म कर सकते हैं. नहीं, तो वो टेस्टिंग भी की जाती है लैब्स में और ह्यूमन सेल कल्चर्स पे की जाती है. कंप्यूटर यूसेज है उसमें, थोड़ा टेक्नोलॉजी इज इन्वॉल्व, बट एनिमल्स आर नॉट. So we do have options. I think the future looks bright. Thank you. Yes. Okay. So with this, we'll close. I am really sorry that we can't take more questions today, but it would be really wonderful if you have more questions. Please go on that Facebook Live link. We have posted it here. You can put your questions there in the comment section, and I'm sure Pareen can take out some time at some point and answer those. We'll also try to answer these questions for you. आज यहाँ पे हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए बहुत बहुत थैंक यू. अपना वीकेंड में से कीमती टाइम निकालने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. एंड इट्स a really wonderful thing to see people joining such sessions to learn about these very internal changes that we have to bring in ourselves for our planet, animals, and our own well-being. Thank you once again. We'll try and keep bringing you more and more such sessions. And thank you, Pareen, for being here with us today out of your busy schedule and still making time for this.
Thank you so much, Sarita. Thank you all. Thank you all so much. I have read all of your comments and I have tried to take up all of the questions that we could. Like Sarita said, if there's anything at all, please feel free to comment on the Facebook or reach out to me directly, and I'll be happy to answer any queries or point you to any research that you're looking for. Thank you so much. मैं आपकी बहुत आभारी हूँ कि आप आज आए और आपने इसमें इंटरेस्ट दिखाया कि हमारा जो क्लाइमेट है और जो हमारा खुद का डाइट है उसमें जो लिंक है. So thank you so much. And I'm so grateful for all of you. And thank you so much to FIAPO for continuing this learning for people week after week. Thank you so much.
Thank you. With this, we'll close. Thank you.